everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of the Way Out Pickleball Podcast. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good job on that.
I love the name. When we were talking about putting together a podcast, it was the first thing that came to me was that's out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, we need to be a little douchier than that's out. We got to go way out.
If somebody says way out, like in a tournament, they are trying to get like under your skin.
Yeah. And I have gotten into a bad habit of saying way out as a joke in my head, but I don't think my opponents think of it as a joke. But
dude, because you have such a straight face,
sure,
and you have a very dry sense of humor. So when I first met you, I was like, this guy's kind of a douche.
Yeah, sure.
And then like I got to know you, and I realized that was just your sense of humor.
Yeah. And
then I was like, oh no, Matt's like a really super nice guy. But like if you don't know Matt and you only know him on the courts, he likes chirping a little bit. Especially in friendly rec games.
Yeah.
Against certain people, he'll chirp more, and then but you just keep such a straight face, so it like throws people off.
I know. People aren't ever sure. Is that guy serious? Does that guy hate me? What's going on here? The answer is yes, I hate you.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Cool. So the main things that we want to touch on this week are any updates that we want to talk about for the podcast. So obviously, you guys saw that beginning clip. The reason why I broke that table as I was sitting down is because I am moving. I'm moving into, me and my girlfriend Marissa are moving in together, which is a big deal. And I'm moving all of this stuff, so our background, our setup is going to look a little bit different, which, I mean, only matters to us and like the 35 people that saw the podcast last week. So hopefully, you know, for those 42 people that watch it this week, you guys are going to see some upgrades in the quality of the audio. We got some new microphones. We got a new podcasting space coming soon. We're going to work on all kinds of different content ideas. We might record some stuff on the courts. We might record some stuff. I'm going to have a home gym. I might show you guys, because my other job is I'm a personal trainer, so I might show you guys some training stuff for pickleball, specifically calisthenics and plyometrics, because believe it or not, pickleball requires us to be like light on our feet and jumpy and bouncy. And so if you see players like Jaume Martinez Vic or Paris Todd or like
James Ignatowicz.
James Ignatowicz, although he doesn't need to do any more plyometrics. He does enough plyometrics for a lifetime.
Was watching his their quarterfinal match.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy bounces.
Dude,
he's going to bounce to the freaking moon if he's not careful.
The more nervous, and it makes it seem like he's nervous because he's like, and I'm like, is he on just a bunch of Adderall, or is it like, what he says is that it helps him play better, and if he doesn't do that, he plays like crap. So I'm like, man, he just got into the habit, and he got good results like the first time he started doing it, and now he just can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, props to him. He's a top men's doubles player and was a top mixed doubles player, although he hasn't been getting great results with his recent mixed doubles partner since him and Anna Bright split up. Which, I don't know if you saw this, Anna Bright and Quang Duong are an absolute devious mixed doubles team. Like, did you watch any of their matches?
I haven't. I didn't see any of their matches
Dude,
this weekend.
Holy shit. Go back, if you guys haven't seen it, go back and watch Quang Duong and Anna Bright playing mixed doubles this last weekend. They're actually, they didn't make it to the finals. It was Etta Wright and Christian Alshon versus Ben and Anna Lee Waters. And it wasn't that exciting. Christian Alshon was playing amazingly well in game one. He was the best player on the court in game one, and then he let Ben and Anna Lee start creeping back in. I think it was like 8-2. They were up 8-2, him and Etta, and then Ben and Anna Lee just started creeping back in and took game one, smoked them game two, smoked them game three, and they just didn't have any answers. One thing that I've noticed about Ben and Anna Lee Waters is that they figure out patterns very quickly. make adjustments very quickly. And they are so good at following a strategy and a game plan. And so even if you get them in game one, I feel like they're just so strategic, and they have good coaches on their sidelines to help them just like make these small adjustments to win.
Yeah. So the tournament this weekend still going on.
Yeah.
Still matches being played, but there were definitely a few amazing things to point out. QD and CJ Klinger went on a rampage.
Yeah.
Amazing. They spoiler alert, although we already spoiled a match earlier, so you're here, you're listening.
We're not really spoiling it though, because by the time people watch this,
yeah. But so Kwang Duong and CJ Klinger took down the Johns brothers.
Yeah.
And it was just about as good of a game I've ever seen a team play against the Johns ever.
It was super dominating.
It was unreal.
And I don't know what was going on with Ben, but he seemed just defeated. He seemed upset at CJ. He seemed like, not CJ Klinger, he seemed upset at his brother. They seemed like they had no chemistry at all. They weren't talking to each other at all. And it just seemed like they had no answer. Like, Kwang was ripping third shot drives. And, like, he was coming all the way over to take CJ's third shot drives. And CJ Klinger was crashing and just owning them on these crashes. And it was just an amazing thing to watch. And, like, they were getting all kinds of luck on their side, too. Like, all kinds of net cords. They were just hitting their shots, seeing the ball so well. You know, both their dads are on the sidelines, like, cheering them on. Because they're kids. They're teenagers. Yeah. Both their dads are coaching them, and it was just super cool to see, like, the next generation of PPA talent coming up and just freaking taking over.
Yeah.
Just playing free, playing their game, not letting anyone tell them, hey, here's how you play the game. They play how they want to play. They play their game, and it worked out for them.
Right. And I believe they were the 14th seed.
Wonder what it'll be now.
Yeah, and because this was their first tournament together?
Yeah, they've never played together.
Yeah. It was a pretty wild game. There were some amazing points and parts of the match that I would definitely go back and watch. It's on YouTube. We can link to it at 2 minutes 30 seconds. I have a couple notes here. 2 minutes 30 seconds. You can see a two-handed backhand that Kwang hits on just like a slight high ball. He's ripping a two-handed backhand with such rotation right into the middle of the court, and it gets Ben. You know, he gets chicken winged on his right hip, and it's moving so fast, so hard.
Wow, just annihilated.
And like those are the type of shots that we just were not seeing 6 months ago, a year ago. Being able to get that much rotational power on the balls where you can attack them that fast
and
below
low.
Yeah.
And the thing about Kwang is he doesn't reset the ball.
Right.
Like, there's no resetting.
Right. And when he does, it hits the net.
He doesn't like have a like regular reset. It's like, I'm either gonna rip this or I'm going to lose the point.
Yeah.
And if he's ripping them and it's working, he's gonna win very easily. Well, not easily, but he's gonna dominate if the other team is someone that can't handle pace. And Ben and Colin, they want to play their game. They want to play dropping and dinking and resetting and third shot drops. And the thing about it is that's how you beat the Johns brothers. You create chaos and you play at your own pace. They want to play slow. So if you play the opposite, we also saw, did you watch Zane Ford?
No.
Dude, this kid I think he's mostly played APPs. I don't know how old he is. He looks like he's super young. Him and his partner, I've never seen him play before.
Okay.
This kid's Zane Ford. He was hitting the hardest third shot drives I have ever seen in my life. Like
Who is
harder
his,
than...
doubles partner?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea who his doubles partner was. He was also very good, but this kid Zane Ford was... I'm gonna say it right now. He's an up and comer. If you guys haven't watched him play, go watch him against the Johns brothers this weekend. It was insane what this kid was able to do. He actually like was making them sweat, and that just doesn't happen. Like,
Oh, that's exciting. I'll have to go check that match
yeah,
out.
go check it out because I think his strategy against the Johns brothers would have worked if him and his partner were both on the same page, and his partner was crashing a little bit better off these drives. I think it would have worked out.
Yeah, and that was around a 64 or 32.
I don't know. I don't know what Raf's.
We'll pull the video and I'll pull this. I haven't heard of this fella, but
Yeah,
we'll pull his stats.
Pull
We'll put
up
him
a
here.
video of him like hitting third shot drives and just body bagging Colin.
Yeah.
If
We'll clip that.
you can find that. Another thing I want to say too, and maybe this is a question for you as well. Do you think that driving your thirds as hard as you can is not nearly as effective as driving them like, you know how they say drive them mid pace, like 50% or 80% like speed so that it dips down? Obviously, like that makes sense from a logical perspective, but also, do you think QD's only hitting 80% drives, or is he ripping it as hard as he possibly can?
I mean, the way he sounds, he's got to be hitting them 90%. I mean, but the thing is they're able to get so much spin on the ball that you just watch the drive go, a couple inches over the net and just dive to the ground.
Yeah.
And they're usually diving cross court. I mean, in their quarterfinal match against Alshon and Ignatowicz,
oh my God,
that QD won so many points on those cross court third shot drops or third shot drives that were dropping. And,
they are dipping. They have a lot of dip on them.
Oh, yeah. And, Alshon, Ignatowicz just couldn't handle it. They were trying to unwind, running over there, having to throw a backhand, slice in order to, pick that ball up. And they just couldn't handle it. I mean, these are some of the deadliest third shot drives I've ever seen.
Yeah, we're talking about top 10, top 15 men's players who just cannot handle this kid's drives. And I mean, props to Kwong and his dad and like them for training as hard as he does. Every single time I'm on Instagram, Kwong is on the courts and he's spending like 2 to 4 hours a day just ripping balls with his dad. And so I mean, it's no surprise that he hits such clean shots. Yeah. And I mean, he's getting so low and his grip is so like Eastern when he hits these drives. Like I don't know. It's just insane. It's insane to think of other sports coming into pickleball as well. Like once we start seeing like real table tennis, like pros coming into the sport, like from China, from other countries, like coming into, or badminton, we see those players, like really high level, like pro athletes coming into the sport. Because we're seeing some high-level pro tennis players from the U.S. coming into the sport. But I want to see how differently the game can change once we start seeing, like, pro racquetball players, pro squash players, pro highlight players, like all of them coming into pickleball and bringing their new shots and skills and different ways of hitting and strategies into the game. Because I still think that pickleball is changing at a rapid pace. And I don't think we've seen nearly what new school pickleball is going to look like.
Yeah. And one of the things I noticed about this tournament specifically is, and, maybe it's a little bit of the camera, maybe, but I'm seeing most of these ground strokes, these serves, these returns having so much arc to them. Like so many players are getting that much more spin on their serves, on their ground strokes, and you really see it where, you know, balls that players could leave, you know, last year, 6 months ago,
Yeah.
they
They
you know,
have to hit 'em now.
that are going shoulder height are dipping in and hitting the court.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I think it's definitely skill, but I think as every player is starting to get a newer paddle that has more grit, they're able to get more spin from the equipment. But I do think a lot of it is mechanics. People are getting better at hitting top spin, and you can see it.
Absolutely. I think also when you look at somebody like QD's drive or serve on TV or YouTube and you see it, it's so different than being across the net from it.
Yeah.
When you see something on video, like players out there who are like at the amateur level who are listening to this, like record a match of yourself. You probably think when you go out there that you look so athletic and that you look so amazing, and then record a video of yourself and you're going to be like, holy crap, dude, I look like a 3.5 or a 3.0. And it's like the camera kind of changes the pace of the ball. It changes how things look and feel. And then you get to see, like, when you're looking at stuff on TV, it's different. When you're against the net from it, you're across the net from it. That's scary, dude. That is scary to see somebody ripping a ball at you that hard, that's dipping that hard, and you just have no answers. You have no answers for it.
Yeah, it is when I watch, you know, our matches or something like that we record. It is funny how much slower the ball appears from a distance, and it's even more so than just like spectating a game. But you know, when at the level that we play at, right, like you're hitting balls like with arm extended, that ball's getting hit 10 feet in front of you, and they're moving 40, 50 miles an hour depending on, you know, who's hitting the ball, and that is getting on you so quick. And the, you know, the pace of pickleball has gotten so intense. But I mean, that's where the game was always going to go, I feel. Now, I love dinking. I love, you know, dropping. I don't think that's going away.
No.
But having the ability to hit these, you know, monster drives, monster serves just gives you that much more advantage. And we're seeing it at the pro level. For sure.
And then when people see it at the pro level, they're going to start trying to imitate it at the rec and amateur level. They're going to be like, oh, this is how Kwong and CJ beat the Johns brothers. Now we're going to try this at our local open tournament. So we're going to start seeing a lot more of that at, you know, amateur PPAs and, you know, different tournaments.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, a topic that we've been talking about, that we've been interested in, is like, how does the pro game come in to the amateur game? Like, how, when we see these changes happen at the pro level, how should that impact amateur play? Because, you know, if we see people hitting 60, 70% third shot drives, you know, certain teams are doing that. That doesn't necessarily mean every amateur should start hitting drive. You know, there is definitely these skill divides, right? Where it's like, if you're at the 3.5, 4.0 level, it's like you have to work on your soft game because all of your opponents don't have that, you know? And then it comes up, there's a bell curve, and it's like, all right, now you need to work on hitting the ball very, very hard. Then you need to work on being able to handle the ball very, very hard. And then you need to work on the slow stuff again, because at, you know, our level and up, it's like people are starting to get afraid of speeding the ball up because of how amazing everybody's counters are.
Everybody's hands are so good. It's like, you don't want to be the one to speed it up because then you look like an idiot when somebody just counters it down. So it's like, now we're seeing more off-pace speed ups. We're seeing more We're seeing more third shot drives, but specifically third shot drives hit at 80% or less so that it can dip so that your partner has an easier time crashing. I feel like when my partner is just ripping thirds as hard as they possibly can, it's a way harder ball for me to crash off of because they're taking my partner's pace and now they're countering it or volleying it or punching it down. And so I'm not able to crash off that. Whereas if they can rip a third that's dipping, which actually like what we played a week ago or so, and your drives were just on fire and you were hitting these monster drives, but you were getting so much top spin on them that I could actually crash off of them. And a lot of times you were crashing off of your own drives.
Yeah.
And so that's what having a good drive is not all about just hitting the ball as hard as you possibly can. Like, I would not be able to crash off of a jack sock third shot drive, right? And it's like, the dude has the nastiest forehand in all of pickleball. It's disgusting. It's like, and the reason it's so disgusting is because you can't read it. There's no take back. And so it's just this compact. It's just this fast twitch, and the ball's traveling faster than anyone.
Yeah.
And so Kwong has this big ripping shot and you know it's coming. Whereas Jack Sock can hit that thing on the run, pull it cross court, inside out. He can put it wherever he wants and it looks like he's just slapping the ball.
Yeah.
And so that's what's kind of scary about players like Donald Young and Jack Sock, who came from really high level tennis, is they can kind of, with very minimal backswing, just put the ball and it's just on you so quick. Whereas players like Kwong and Christian Alshon, like they have bigger swings and you know it's coming, but it's still just insanely hard hitting drives.
Yeah.
And they're all going in, you know, so that's the crazy part. But I feel like the game is changing a lot, even at the amateur level. The points seem to be getting, like, at first when I got to 4-5, 5-0 games, the points seemed to be a lot longer, right? Because people were making less errors.
Yeah.
Now I feel like they're getting shorter again because everybody trusts their hands so much. So they're like looking to speed up or hit a bait ball so that way they can get into hands battles and finish the point.
Yeah.
Because hands battles are fun at the rec level, but then you get into a tournament and people are speeding up the ball way less, especially off the bounce. People will still speed up out of the air and hit counters and, you know, volleys out of the air and speed up out of the air a lot more, but off the bounce, it's just not as good of a speed up unless you're just incredibly talented at speeding up off the bounce and hiding your shots more.
Yeah, there's a lot more time for your opponents to react. The ball's going to bounce, it's got to come up to its apex, and then you're picking a spot. And it is tough because good people who can read the ball well know to just let those speed ups go.
Let them go out.
You know, and
a lot of them are going out.
It is hard to get those in, but having said that, like, so much more spin is being generated at this point. You know, a lot of it has to do with equipment, but it's just people are getting better at coming over the ball and creating that top spin. But yeah.
You also, like, people are also getting better at picking spots. When I first started learning how to speed up off the bounce, I would hit these little flick shots, and it worked at the level I was at because I was playing at 4-0, you know? And so it was like those flick shots always worked, and I didn't have to learn a top spin speed up. And now it's like, okay, I have to make my forehand dink look like I'm speeding it up every time. And just hit a soft one and do that 3, 4, 5 times before I see that, okay, they're leaning this way. Okay, now I can speed it up down the middle.
Right.
And so it's like you almost have to make your dinks, hide your speed ups by making all of your dinks and your speed ups look the same. And then also, if you're going to speed it up at somebody, you have to pick your spots and you have to change your spots. You can't just go to the same spot every time.
Yeah.
Like if I see somebody they like to two-handed backhand dink and they like to two-handed backhand speed up. You probably know somebody who I'm thinking of who does this all the time. And they pick pretty much the same spot, which is cross body with their two-handed backhand speed up. And it's like, I know where that ball is going if I'm playing against this person. I just have to sit forehand because I know the ball is coming middle. And then my partner, all they have to do is just sit backhand because they're pretty much just need to watch their body.
Yeah.
If that same person had a speed up that went down the line, then that person who's sitting backhand now has to flip forehand.
Mm-hmm.
So that paddle side hip is a good spot. A lot of times that's like a really good spot to hit because hitting it with your forehand is really hard if it's low.
Right.
It's hard to hit that. And otherwise you're hitting a chicken wing, and it's pretty hard to do anything offensive with a chicken wing. So paddle side hip is a good spot, and if you can hit that effectively, that's a really good speed up.
Yeah. Well, I think, two things that we're seeing, or that I noticed this weekend especially, that we're really working for players are coming up with these combinations that they're hitting, like you're referring to, right? Like speeding, like getting in that pattern where you're hitting a two-handed backhand and then, hitting a bait ball or some sort of ball that's going to get that pop-up, and knowing exactly where you're going to put that, right? Like hitting that two-handed backhand speed up into the middle, there's confusion, that gets popped up, and then you hit a forehand to the, right side player's right hip. Mm-hmm. Like those sort of combinations. Like when I was watching Ben and Anna Lee play Riley and Catherine, I think it was in the quarterfinals, you could just see Ben had like amazing combinations that he was, and he's definitely the best mixed player in the world, and a lot of those come naturally to him, I think. But with Catherine in front of him, like he knows exactly where he's gonna get that pop up, and then where he's gonna put it away. And I think that's something that people should take down to the amateur level, noticing where you are able to generate more pop-up errors from your opponents, and then noticing where they go to defend them.
Yeah.
And really focusing in on that, and then doing the opposite of what they're looking to defend against.
Yeah.
And that's, if you watch that mixed match in the quarters, Catherine was getting the ball hit to her left shoulder.
Yeah.
And backing up and popping it up, and then getting the ball, hit down her sideline. And just Ben knows that he can do that over and over again.
He plays against her like every week.
Yeah.
So it's like he's used to that.
I would definitely look at, all right, another technical difficulty, episode 2 technical difficulty, but that's fine. So I was just talking about Ben having these amazing combinations that he uses. You especially see it in mixed a little bit more, I feel like, than men's, where men's is like more of a grind. But that's something that I would definitely take down to the amateur level. Like, go out and start paying attention when you play. Like, where are you getting success on forcing your opponents to pop up balls, and then notice where they're going to defend them, and see if you can do the opposite of that. If they're going right back to a backhand, can you hit their right hip? Can you hit their right shoulder?
There's players who play the right side a lot, and so they like to sit backhand and just punch everything down. And it's like, those players can be tough to deal with until you learn how to hit down the line speed ups.
Yeah.
And if you can hit down the line speed ups, they're going to be caught off guard. They're going to go like this, or they're going to try to flip to their forehand and probably hit it way out. So that's something that I've been working on a lot this week, and I'll continue to work on probably for the rest of my pickleball life, is just picking different spots, paying attention to where my partner is holding their paddle when they get into hands battles. What makes them uncomfortable, and how can I make them uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. I know immediately, like, my serve is probably my greatest weapon because it makes some players uncomfortable, because I can hit the serve pretty hard, and a lot of times I get short returns, and then how do I capitalize on those short returns, right? It's like I get big, right? And I come up as soon as I see that ball go short, I'm running up there, and they think I'm just going to rip it at them, so they just get frozen. A lot of times I'm just rolling the ball right at their feet. I'm not even hitting it hard. But we'll get a pop-up or we'll get a point off that a lot of times in tournaments and stuff like that, because they're like, oh my God, short return. Oh no, I messed up. And they're already thinking they lost the point before they even have. And if they would just calm down and just stop where they are and just reset the ball, they'd be back in the point. But a lot of times people just, they already, in their heads, they already think they're beat.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, how can I make my opponents uncomfortable? And so that's something that a lot of times, like, I'll pull a lot. I'll create a lot of chaos. I'll pull a lot of speed ups. And I think it's because I want people to be uncomfortable. I want them to think, when this guy gets the ball, I don't know what he's going to do. Right. So there's a little bit of that where, like, it's almost strategic for me to just be a little erratic, and they kind of don't know what I'm going to do. It doesn't always work out for me, but I feel like if I can hone that in a little bit and create it to be an asset, because it's definitely how I kind of get my mojo going and get my energy up a bit, is just create some chaos.
Yeah.
It can definitely be to my advantage. Now, there's going to be some players who just want to grind you down. Matt is definitely one of those players who just wants to grind you down. And he's perfectly comfortable dinking with you for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm not. Like, I can grind out dinks, but I would rather just speed it right up at you and get into a hands battle, because I trust my hands more.
Yeah. Now I'm just waiting for someone to hit me a cross-court ball that I can flick with a backhand.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yep.
That's all I dream about. So yeah, that the other thing that I wanted to bring up that I noticed this weekend about bringing down to the amateur level is working on moving your opponents around. Move this ball around. Like when you... So go watch this semifinal match with Dekel Bar, Pablo Tellez versus Kwang Duong and CJ Klinger. It was, the entire match was just seeing who could get someone to trip over themselves to move for the ball.
To get them off balance.
It was, obviously like a lot of drives, a lot of, speed ups, ripping the ball. But at the kitchen, these points were just constantly moving the ball from, one side to the other, from the left foot to the right foot. Another interesting thing about this match was it was two lefty-righty combos. So normally they're all right side player or all right-handed players, or there's one lefty on a team, but we don't usually see a righty-lefty on both sides. And you could tell because they were playing the sidelines a lot. They were moving the ball cross court and then bringing it back into the middle, trying to get errors where people were both throwing their paddle in there.
Both trying to hit the ball.
And, that is definitely a drill that you can work on. If you're wanting to get better at the game, definitely drill, get 4 players together and drill for 30 minutes, an hour before you play a dinking game, and just see how much you can move this ball around. Try, kitchen, anything in the kitchen's in, anything else is out, and just see how much spin you can get on the ball, pace you can get on the ball, moving it around, because that is what we saw in that match. And anytime the ball got sped up, everybody is so good at resetting the ball now that they ended up back in dinking contest. And, but it's a very, very useful skill to have, where instead of being able to rip the ball as hard as you can, just flick a backhand behind the person. And, it takes a lot of skill to have that sort of control, but it comes from practicing it.
I think also, if you watch Rachel Rohrbacher, Anna Bright, you watch the finals with them, Anna Lee Waters and Catherine Parenteau, you watch that finals over again, you can see that Rachel Rohrbacher is hitting an aggressive two-handed backhand roll that is basically just rolling Annalie Waters off the court.
Yeah.
And she is pinching middle because she wants to play big, right? Which is totally, that works for her, right? But Anna Bright realized, oh crap, if I put Rachel on the left, she has this great two-handed backhand roll that is so aggressive. And Annalie Waters just was struggling. And so they would pull her, they'd hit middle, they'd hit behind Catherine, they'd see Annalie Waters pinching, and then they'd roll her off the court. And that's the strategy that helped them win the game, I think. So even at the highest level, like moving the dinks around, creating space in between your opponents, trying to create space. We always talk about, like, you want there to be very little space between you and your partner. You guys want to be on a string. Yeah, sure. That's true. But also, like, if you can get them to split up and separate and get off balance a little bit and get uncomfortable, you're going to get some pop-ups. You're going to get some balls into the net, and you're going to get some Ernie, you're going to get some Ernie attempts that you can probably hit. And also, a lot of players don't see that there's an ATP when there is one. So that's something I've been working on, is looking for Ernies, looking for ATPs, and then also looking that if somebody's speeding up a ball off their shoes at the kitchen, it's going out. Like, at our level, it's going out. At the pro level, sure, there might be some balls that are staying in. They're good enough at hitting those, and they practice them. But at our level, it's like they might be able to hit it 1 out of 20 times, maybe less. So it's like, if they hit it, good shot. Yeah. Congrats. Do it again, right?
Yeah. Speaking of that, in the Klinger, Duong, Johns match, go back 9 minutes and 30 seconds. QD hits a forehand roll from his shoe tops.
Yeah.
Nobody on earth thought this ball was going to land in the court.
Healthy lead. But stay focused, youngsters.
Almost made that.
Oh.
He thinks he made that.
You see it? View, the out call is overturned. The ball was in.
And it lands right on the back corner.
Saw
Colin called it out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ben, I see Ben, he's looking, he sees it. I don't know if he sees it in or not. I mean, it's so close.
Yeah.
And they, when I was watching it, I just yelled, challenge it immediately. Yelling at my computer screen. And they challenged it, overturned. Anyway, amazing ball. But yeah, at our level, unless it's me, that ball's going out.
I want to go to a Kwong, and his dad's name is it? What is it? Duke? Yeah, Duke. I want to go to a Kwong and Duke clinic. I want to go learn from those two. Definitely. Because they are just. We actually met Duke in PPA LA. Like, he was on the bus, going to the tournament to go watch his son go coach, and he was just chatting it up with everybody. Super nice guy. And he was like talking about how the lob is the most underused shot in pickleball. Mm-hmm. And now we are starting to see a lot more lobs. We saw Elise Jones getting Anna Bright and Rachel Rohrbacher very uncomfortable with her lobs. She probably has the best lobs in the game, Elise Jones. Mm-hmm. They are amazing. But what I'm seeing is, like, I want to learn from players like Kwong, because he is changing the way that pickleball is being played. And I think if more amateur players start to learn how to do that, it's gonna be exciting, because we're gonna start to see, like we just talked about, we're gonna start to see more of this at the amateur level, and it's just exciting to see that the answer isn't always like reset the ball and always make the smartest shot. It's like, that's Annalie Waters is a great example of somebody who does not always reset the ball and make the smartest shot. She goes for it. She trusts her gut. And you can see that this little girl, she charges. You know how they say don't hit a ball while you're running? Mm-hmm. Annalie Waters sprints through the kitchen, she sprints through the non-volley
Yeah.
zone. Like, she sprints through the no man's land and just rips balls while people
Yeah.
are trying to hit her. And it's just like, dude, that is not what you want to do with a girl like that. Like, she will put that ball in your teeth.
Yeah. No, it's a lot, obviously resetting the ball, that sort of gameplay is so critical, but as players are getting more arc on their balls, being able to attack mid-court is becoming more of a valid shot. And, it is...
At the higher levels, all of the things that they teach you at the lowest level, you almost have to unlearn that stuff, because now you instinctively know, okay, yeah, I should probably reset this one. But if it's up here, I can crush it, right? Even from the midcourt. Oh, don't bang from the midcourt. Okay. But at the higher levels, you see players banging it from the midcourt. Oh, just get the serve in, It's most important that you just get the serve in. At the highest levels, they're not doing that.
Right.
They're ripping the serve as hard as they can, right? And so you almost have to unlearn. You have to learn all the soft stuff. You have to learn the basics of the game, but then you have to unlearn that stuff to learn your own style of how you play pickleball. So this game is just so, it blows my mind how much there is to this game, and it's just never ending. We're always learning. Cool. The next thing I want to talk about, Matt, before we close this out, because we are running out of a bit of time this week, is I want to talk about changing paddles. And
Okay.
I think, especially we're in this era where paddles are, everybody wants the newest, the latest, the greatest paddles. Everybody wants the pop, the power, the twist, the stability, the RPMs, the spin. Like, everybody wants the best technology. They want it to last a long time. They don't want to pay an arm and a leg for it. And it's like, okay, well, at what point is sticking with the paddle that you know how to play with, at what point is that just more valuable?
Yeah.
Right? It's ever I've always been someone who switches out paddles.
Yeah.
Right? And then it'll get to the point where I get really comfortable with a paddle. I'm playing really well with it. I'm medaling with this paddle, right? I'm getting medals in local tournaments with this paddle. And then all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I watch a paddle review and I'm like, I really want that new paddle tech, right?
Yeah.
And it's like yesterday, I played a game with the paddle tech TKO CX 12.7 millimeter, and it was so frustrating.
Yeah.
I couldn't hit a drop. I couldn't hit a reset. I couldn't hit a drive. Nothing was working. I couldn't dink. Nothing was working. I was super frustrated. Okay.
Didn't help that I couldn't miss a single ball yesterday.
Fuck you.
No, but
But then after that, somebody dropped out of another men's game and they needed somebody, so I went and played again later yesterday. And then all of a sudden, I'm on fire with this same paddle. I'm playing insanely well, lights out, couldn't miss a ball. And so it's just I find with new paddles that I'm playing with, it's either I'm playing up here with it or I'm playing down here with it. And there's no in between until I get used to it, which may take with this paddle, it may take a month. It may take longer. I don't know. I drill a lot. I play a lot. So it may take a long time for me to figure out how to use this paddle and use it to my advantage. But I guess what I'm saying is switching out paddles all of the time and always looking for the latest and greatest paddles, I think is overrated. I think you should find a paddle that you play well with and that you can control, and then you should stick with it for a long time.
yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I mean, I have been... I suppose I played with 5 paddles throughout my career, consistently. When I first started playing, I played with this Electrum Pro. 14 mil, like wide body paddle. Played with that till the grit ran out. And then I ended up playing, Selkirk Vanguard 2.0s for a long period of time. And, they weren't cheap, but they weren't like the most expensive paddle out there. And then hit with a Gearbox Pro Power Elongated, and I was like, oh man, I love this. This is great. Not that I needed power, but there was just something about being able to like barely hit the ball with the soft stuff, with resets, and it just do the work for me. And then I played with that for a long time, but the problem is like these paddles are so expensive. This sport definitely is expensive at this level when you start buying all these paddles. And for players like us, it's like we notice, we play 4, 5, 6 times a week, and it's like the grit on some of these paddles just wears off, quickly, like 3 months, 4 months, something like that. And so, spending $300 on a paddle every 3 or 4 months gets very expensive. So, and then I moved to a Valair Mach 2 Forza, and, it doesn't have all of this power, but it has everything else that you want in a paddle. And, they and other companies make, more power oriented paddles as well at a similar price point. So the Valair is $180 retail, and you can get it for like $160 with certain codes. And, I would definitely encourage people to not only try cheaper paddles, but to go back to trying a standard shape paddle, a wide body paddle.
Yeah.
Because so much of our game at this level is just reducing errors and not mishitting the ball. And, we're not like extremely accurate all the time. And these elongated paddles have a smaller sweet spot. And I feel like a lot of players are making it more difficult on themselves with these paddles that a lot of the pros started playing with.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to go out and demo a paddle. Pickleball Central or whatever lets you like demo paddles. Go and try some $150 to $200 standard shape paddles. I think you're going to notice you get a lot more. You have a lot more wiggle room in where you're hitting the ball, and you'll have like quicker hands than an elongated paddle, and you will not get you won't get maybe the reach that you could with an elongated paddle, but I don't really feel like I miss that. And I think just playing with it will let you realize like, oh, there's not that much difference between these super high-end paddles. I think, a lot of that comes down to overhead costs that these bigger paddle companies have, like Gearbox, Selkirk, Yola.
I mean they sign the top pros.
Yeah.
So they have a large overhead.
Yeah, and a lot of, marketing costs. And I think, a lot of R&D too, right? Like they are spending more money
Gearbox
on
for sure, because I don't even know who's sponsored by Gearbox anymore, but I know like Paddle Tech and Yola, like they have to, and Selkirk, like they have to charge a lot more money for these paddles. Yeah. Although I will say Selkirk has affordable paddles that are pretty good.
Like the Halo.
Yeah, I think the Halo line is pretty good. Those are like what, $150, something like that, which is good. I just think there's so many good paddles out there these days. 11624 is a company that I've been really messing with, and they have wide body paddles, and they had a huge sale last week. I picked up one, and I had the Jelly Bean 14 millimeter, which my girlfriend's using right now because she was using an elongated Halo, and she was mishitting a lot. And I was like, use a wide body because you will you will make, and she's also starting to hit a backhand roll, and it's also easier to hit your rolls and flicks with a wide body or standard shape paddle. So that's another benefit. But there's so many good companies out nowadays that are making paddles super affordable. So I'd recommend, like, don't always go for the flashy stuff. Like, sure, the paddle tech is super fun to hit with. The Yola mod, I'm sure it's super fun to hit with. You know, $200 carbon, $200 this, you know, $333 Selkirk 007. Like, I'm sure these paddles are all great. It's pretty hard to make a bad paddle these days. But is it great for the players to be spending that kind of money on a paddle we only get to use for 3-4 months?
Right.
If you play a lot? No, like, that's a huge cost. We're spending $100 on shoes every 3 months. Now, you know, $300 on a paddle every 3 months. Then we're playing tournaments, and a lot of those, if you're playing the open and you're playing 4 or 5 and you're playing mixed, you know, you're spending $200-$300 there, and then you're maybe traveling for pickleball. Then you've got your membership fees and dues if you play indoor and it gets cold where you live. So the cost of playing is extremely expensive. And I just think spending $300 on a paddle is just stupid if you are already investing so much into your game.
Yeah. And there are definitely, you know, a lot of these power paddles can improve certain players' games. But it also, like, I found that I improved a lot when I moved to a more control-oriented paddle. Like, just not being able to rely on some of the power that I was getting was beneficial. It helped me work on my, like, mechanics a lot more. And, you know, a lot of players can't control these paddles. I mean, the pros can't control these paddles. Plenty of them talk about it. You know, in marketing material for the paddle tech, Alshon said he plays with the 14 mil or 14.3.
12.7.
Well, at one point he said he was playing with the thicker paddle because he couldn't control the thinner one.
He was figuring it out. Now he only plays with the 12.7.
Yeah.
But
just think about, like,
there's a huge learning curve
Yeah.
to these paddles. Like Matt, when he first started playing with the gearbox, he was not good with it, I guarantee.
No.
You know, Christian Alshon, when he started playing with his new paddle, the 12.7, he was not good with it. I'm playing with the 12.7. I am not good with it yet. I'm much better with my Mach 2 Forza.
Yeah.
I know that. But the only way for me to get used to a new paddle is to play with it. And sometimes you're going to suck with a new paddle because it's so different from what you played with. But that being said, like, a power paddle might suit my game better than a control paddle. Like, I found that there were just shots that I was trying to hit with the control paddle that I was like, if I just had a little more juice here, I'd be able to finish these points a little bit better. I could finish these points with overheads a little bit better, you know. And yeah, there's some parts of my game that are going to suffer from using a power paddle too. But I'm thinking that I'm a good enough player to where if you give me a little bit of time with the paddle, I'm going to figure it out. And it's actually going to be a pretty seamless transition pretty shortly.
Yeah. But when you're trying new paddles, definitely do yourself a favor and drill with them. Don't just show up to a game and pull a new paddle out of your bag and see how it feels. Because when you're in a game, you're not hitting that many balls.
Yeah.
You know, compared to a drilling session. So, you know, take that paddle, you know, get with somebody else who will drill with you and go hit dinks, hit drives, hit drops, hit serves, and just get a feel for it. And don't just spend one day on a new paddle, because, you know, we all know we can go out there and play lights out one day and play terrible the next. And it is really hard to know when you're playing with a new paddle what's what. Like, am I missing all of my thirds because I'm having an off day? Or am I missing all of my thirds because I can't control this paddle, or it doesn't have as much pop as I'm used to?
And sometimes you do just have off days.
Yeah.
And sometimes those off days last a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes they last one game. Sometimes they last one session. Everybody has their down periods, and I feel like what drilling does is it makes those less intense. So in
True.
other words, like your highest highs and your lowest lows aren't so there's not as big of a margin between them.
You don't have
Like
the emotional attachment that you do with
yeah.
a game.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can just kind of stay like right around here. Some days you're going to be like here, some days you're going to be here, but mostly you're going to stay right around here. Whereas if you don't drill, some days you're going to come out and you're really feeling it and you're moving your feet and you're seeing the ball really well that day, and then some days you you just are not on
Yeah.
it. And so I feel like what drilling does is it just makes you a little bit more consistent. Whereas you're not going to not have good and bad days just because you drill. But those good and bad days are going to be few and far between if you do drill and you practice those shots.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's it. Yeah, let's close this out. Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, there's still, the PPA is still going on. Definitely go check that out. Some amazing games that are going on.
Yeah, we haven't seen the men's doubles final, so
No.
I'm looking forward to watching that. I'll have to rewatch that because we're going to play later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a great PPA. This has been a really exciting tournament. So hopefully they keep them this exciting. I think the progressive draw is the way to go.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching or listening. We're going to be putting these episodes out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that, so you guys can listen in the car if you're not able to watch us on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, we would love it if you shot us a like and subscribed and then commented down below, hey, we made it all the way to the end. And then maybe we'll give you a shout out on the pod next time.
Yeah.
Probably not.
There high likelihood we will. No, but definitely leave a comment. We're, just talking about things we care about. But if you have a topic that you want us to cover, maybe, a paddle you want us to take a look at, anything like that, leave a comment and yeah, hopefully we can get to it.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right.
Peace.